RFI, and our members who have joined today's meeting. Our participants, I welcome all of you in this very chill, rainy evening with hot pakoras and a hot tea. With this welcome, I would like to have a brief introduction about our organization, Research Foundation of India is strictly working for social upliftment and higher education quality and Indian research promotions in form of events like international national conferences, seminars, workshops, symposiums, and other activities. RFI works for integrity of intellectual ideas across the globe to fulfill the thrust of innovation of humanity. Research Foundation of India is concerned with improving the educational process by encouraging scholarly inquiries related to education and participants' applications for research and results. RFI India is working for research and development for higher education, and it has signed MOU with many top universities of India. RFI members are faculties, researchers, graduates, and students with a distinguished professional having rich and diverse expertise in education background. RFI does not take any kind of financial support from any government body. RFI also has organized more than 12,000 plus international conferences and workshops, including FDPs, symposiums all over the world. RFI has 87 chapters in India and 18 chapters in Asia and other countries, and categorized in five boards, that is West, East, South, North, and Central Zone. With this RFI introduction, I would like to introduce with our today's expert. It's a very, it's very humble of our expert that these small words are here to present about her personality and work, but her scaling in work is more than what I am going to tell about her. Dr. Chanchla Jain is an assistant professor at Prestige Institute of Management and Research in Indore. She is an author, research expert, and academician with over 11 years of experience in management and commerce. She is a co-founder of Urja Counseling and Training Indore and also serves as coordinator of IQAC at PMIR. As a research expert and trainer, she has conducted numerous workshops on FDPs, on SPSS module, research paper, writings, and analysis. Through her art programming, she has completed a research project in medical field, presented before the central ministry, and has co-chaired various conferences. With over 10 years of her rich experience in research and other portfolios, she has for more than 42 research papers in publication in various well-renowned journals, including Scopus and other national and international journals. She has presented research paper in more than 20 conferences and received 5 Best Paper Award at JIMS Delhi, Pacific University Indore, and 3 at Prestige Indore. Under her guidance, she has 4 research scholars which are pursuing PhD degrees. She has supervised more than 500 students for their major and minor project. With this introduction, I welcome Dr. Chansila Jain. These words are very brief about your expertise and your scaling, but yet I welcome you with a warm heart and with not warm pakoras. Thank you so much, ma'am. The dice is all yours. Again, on behalf of RFI, I welcome Dr. Chanchala ji and our board members and all the participants. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I was opening the SPSS, so that is why it is not allowing me to switch on my mic. Sorry for the interruption. Thank you so much, Priyanka ma'am, for the introduction to all the participants. Thank you so much, Ajay Jain sir, RFI team, for giving me one more opportunity to interact with the participants, those who are willingly want to learn SPSS. So thank you so much, sir. At the onset, I think I want to extend my warm regards and welcome. I welcome all the participants who have shown their interest in this FDP. Thank you so much for joining this FDP. I hope this FDP will be fruitful for all of you, and you people will be able to extract as many as things which I am trying to communicate to you through this particular online platform. So agenda, I think, is already shared through the brochures with the RFI to all of you. The day one is for the basics of the SPSS. Today I'm going to discuss the basics of SPSS. Before discussing the basics, I will try to talk about the few slides. I will try to talk about the research firstly, so that I will be able to connect you through the data analysis part, right? Because I think data analysis is the part which comes at the middle of the any of the research. Maybe it is a research paper, or maybe it is a PhD or something like that. So we need to know the few things about the research firstly. So I'll start with the research part, right? So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen, and I want a confirmation from your side. And dear participants, I think this is my humble request, as this is a Google platform. When I will share my screen, I cannot see you people when I will share my screen. So my request is that if I am asking you something, please do not give the expressions or smileys, because I would not be able to see you. It would be good for me and for you also, so that I cannot ask same question again and again if you are unmuting yourself and giving me answer, right? So this is my humble request from all of you. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Priyanka ma'am, I'm audible clearly, right?
Ma'am, currently your voice is lagging.
Okay. Okay. So ma'am, meanwhile, wherever you're finding it that I'm not audible clearly, please interrupt me, because I think maybe because of the rainy season, there can be a problem.
Fine, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. So I think I have shared my screen. I'm expecting your response, whether my screen is visible or not.
Ma'am, it is visible.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Priyanka ma'am. So friends, as this is the basics or introductory module of the SPSS, where we will see what is SPSS and how we can do various kind of analysis, statistical analysis using SPSS, right? So I will start this session with a quote which is given by Aristotle. He said, "Tell me, I will forget. Show me, I will remember. Involve me, I will understand." So I hope the message has communicated to you people that what is the purpose of this FDP. The purpose is very clear. Here, we want you to do the hands-on practice along with me, so that you would be able to extract so many things. You will be able to perform your statistical analysis even in the later stages after this FDP also. So this is the purpose. I want you people to involve in this particular FDP, so that you can extract as much as you can, right? Talking about the agenda of the session, I'm going to discuss today introduction to research. After that, I will talk about variables and measurement scales. Then we will see the data analysis techniques. Then I will talk about the introduction to SPSS. We will see what are the rules of defining variable in SPSS. And lastly, I'll tell you how to import data files in SPSS. So this way, these are the 6 things I need to discuss today. Along with that, I'll show you the interface of SPSS, and we will see there, these are the certain rules. I think I will not discuss these rules in terms of the slides. I'll take you to the SPSS, and there I'll explain you that how you can define your variables in SPSS, and there only we will see how to define our variable and then how to import our data, right? Nice. So now moving ahead, talking about the first thing, that is the research. Talking about the components, before that I'll talk about the term research. I think when I will talk about the term research, I do not need to say much about this. I think many of you are already knowing this thing. So I'm expecting any one of you, if you can unmute yourself and can tell me what do you understand by term research? Anyone? Hi friends, I hope you are listening to me. I am expecting your answers.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Sonika ma'am.
Ma'am, the research mean a deep study about the topic.
Yes, very good.
Uh,
Good.
we can use data. It's maybe
Yes,
we can use data. Either it will be in primary source, maybe from secondary source. But research means a deep study for a topic.
good. Very good. Good attempt, Sonika ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Anyone
ma'am.
else? Vavas sir, do you want to say something?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, sir.
Research is nothing but it is a systematic investigation into a subject or problem to discover a fact.
Very good. I think it is a definition of book, right? From book, I think sir has studied the definition. Is very good, sir. If you are able to recall that, I will appreciate that. Thank you so much for your answer. Okay. Anyone else want to give any answer, or may I continue with my point of view? I think no. Right. So I am coming back to my slides. Yeah. Give me a second. Screen is visible or not?
Ma'am, currently it's not visible.
Fine, fine, fine. I understood, ma'am, because there was some problem. I have done it purposefully. Give me a second. Again, I'm sharing. Yeah. Can you confirm, Priyanka, ma'am?
Ma'am, now, yes, ma'am, now your PPT is visible.
Thank you so much. Yes, so I think two our participants have already given the answers for the research according to their experiences, according whatever they studied. So I think when I talk about term research, it generally varies from person to person. Everyone has their own opinion about this particular term, that is research, right? If I say research, so I will only break research into the two terms. I think you all have heard that. That is re plus search. That means search again and again, right? So question comes, why we are searching again and again? So for example, there are so many fields available where we can conduct the research. And I think you people have studied research papers also. I am from the social science field, from the management field. So I think I talk generally in terms of research, for example, customer satisfaction or investors perception or brand loyalty or customer attitude, customer perception, behavior, something like that, right? And I think if I talk about in terms of customer, suppose perception, so I think we all are customers. So we all can easily connect with this particular term, suppose customer perception towards suppose XYZ brand, right? So if I say I am conducting a research on a customer perception for any particular mobile brand, right? So it is quite obvious this study will not be the new. Many of the studies has already been conducted in this particular field, right? So why I'm searching it? So the reason is because it is re plus search, that is searching again. So the reason for searching again is that because there can be a time gap, first thing, and due to the time gap, we are expecting the changes in the perception. And I think it is quite understandable for all of us because we know this thing. In our family, we are having our grandparents, we are having our parents, and we know this thing. Our perception, being a young generation, is different from our parents or maybe different from our grandparents, right? So that is why it is quite evident in our family also that perception can change, maybe with the time, maybe with the age, maybe with the gender or something like that, right? So we are again exploring the thing according to the time period. Maybe the changes can be there in the customer perception and might be possible the new brand of mobile came, or maybe some new features were added in the existing brand, something like that. That is why I want to carry my study again on a particular type of thing. This can be a kind of research. I hope I would be able to communicate you this thing. Is it okay? May I proceed with the components part now?
Yes, ma'am, you can proceed.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. So there are so many components available when I talk about a research study, and generally it varies from a discipline to discipline. I said I am from the management side, I am from the social science background, right? So maybe in social sciences, the components of research paper or research study can be little different from some other discipline. A person who is from the literature side, maybe the component he or she is using in the research paper development is can be little different, right? But more or less they will be similar, right? So that is why I am talking about the components of research study here. The very first component is introduction. Introduction is what? Here you need to firstly decide your research title. That will be always a tentative title. So firstly, when you are deciding your title, that will be tentative in nature, right? From that title, we will break that title into certain keywords, right? Suppose a comparative study, or maybe a study on customer perception towards XYZ brand, right? So I will break my title into certain keywords, customer perception, a particular brand, something like that. And that way I will try to write the introduction on those particular keywords, right? I will go in the literature, means I will go for the very previous researches. I will try to see if these type of studies has already been conducted by the previous researchers. So what they have quoted in their introduction part, maybe I can take their insights in my study, but in my own words, right? So that way I will write my introduction on the research type. Further, moving ahead, talking about the literature review. So this will be usually in the sequence comes as the second step. But generally, when you are starting to write a research paper, or when you're starting to complete your thesis or something, your work start with the literature review only, right? So in literature review, what we do, we are generally exploring, we are generally reviewing the past research papers which were written by the previous authors. So we are trying to study those materials, and we are trying to identify what has been covered by those particular researchers, and where there is a gap which can be covered in my research study, right? So literature review can be the what I can say, it's like a lamp, it's like a torch which will help you out throughout your research paper writing or your thesis writing, right? So generally in the introduction part also we are taking the help of literature review. In literature review head itself, we need to cite, we need to quote so many literature reviews of the previous studies which are somewhere related to our research title, right? And that way we are trying to connect with our research gap, that these were the things have been already covered by the previous researchers, and this is the gap which I have found which has not been covered by these studies, right? So that way we are quoting the literature reviews, right? Further, talking about the next terms generally comes as the objectives. Here, in line with your title, you are trying to formulate your objectives. Generally, objectives will be very simple, one-liner or maybe two-liner, very rarely, but it should be very clear and concise so that in a reading, a person can understand what you want to achieve or find using this particular research study. Generally, objectives start with the term TO2, to study, to compare, to measure, something like that, right? Next is the hypothesis. Give me a second, yeah. So hypothesis is again connected with your objectives. If you have framed your objectives well, that way you would be able to formulate or define your objectives in a proper manner. Generally, hypotheses are in the form of null and alternative. So you can generally quote your alternative and null hypothesis in your research paper or in your thesis, right? Further, talking about the next thing, that is the research methodology. This is again a very important component of any research paper. This is generally is the concise, it is, or I can say it's a blueprint of your research paper. Means it will guide you that how now your study will move ahead. Generally, here you are defining what is the type of research study, means what is it is, whether it is a descriptive, whether it is explorative, something like that. You are quoting this thing in the research methodology. Further, you are talking about that what type of sampling technique you are using to select the samples if your study is of primary in nature, right? Then you are writing your sampling plan, you are writing your sampling population, you are writing your, sorry, not sampling population, you are writing your sampling unit, then sampling frame, then sampling unit. Sampling frame, I think these are all other technical terms I'm expecting, or I'm assuming people are knowing these meanings, right? So because agenda is little different, I'm just giving you a brief of everything here. So then talking about the data analysis tools, data collection tools, and these all things you are generally quoting in your research methodology part. So it is a kind of blueprint or map for your study. Further, you will go for the data collection tools. Here you are deciding when you're considering or when you're going for the primary data study. In that case, you are deciding whether you will go for the interview type of things, means you will go and ask certain questions from the interviewers, and then you will write their answers or something like that. That can be the one method for the primary data collection. Second can be you can float your questionnaire. Nowadays, you can float your questionnaire through the Google form, etc. Because online so many channels are available nowadays. Using that, you can create or develop your questionnaire and you can float it to collect the responses in a easy manner, right? Or else you can go for the means of on field. You can go and you can take with you that your hard copy of your questionnaire and you can collect the response, right? After the data collection, you will go for the data analysis tools. In data analysis tools, generally you need to decide which software you are going to select for analyzing your data. Maybe I think you people are very smart and you people are knowing this thing. There are many softwares available, like the very simple one is the Excel, then SPSS is there, then Stata is there, then MATLAB is there. Then nowadays so many different softwares introduced by the companies which are generally open sources. That means for those softwares you do not need to pay a single penny, and you need to only just go to make your account and you can download them and you can easily use them. So these are type of softwares are available nowadays. Apart from that, if you want to go for the programming type of things, so there are R and Python nowadays in a fashion. You can use them for your analysis purpose. So these are the tools and techniques. I think we are studying in this particular FDP, so that I'll discuss. Means each and every day I'll discuss a new technique with all of you. After that analysis of the data, we will go further and we need to conclude our study and we need to jot down all the findings, right? So conclusion is a very important thing where you will summarize your complete study. So that will be covered in the conclusion parts, and then you need to write the findings of your study, that what the findings you have drawn from your analysis of the data. Further, you need to talk about the suggestions. Suggestions are very imperative in terms of any research study, because whatever or whosoever is the stakeholders for your research study, they will read your suggestions, and maybe these suggestions can help them to improve a particular domain wherever they are, or in wherever domain you have written your research paper. So suggestions will be like a guiding line for those stakeholders of your research study. Further, talking about the limitations, it is a very important thing always to quote the limitations, because suppose I am doing a study in a particular region. So maybe my study is restricted to the region. My study will be confined to a sample size also. My study will be confined to maybe non-probability sampling technique, something like that. So there can be so many limitations which you are using or implying on your research study, so that you would be able to complete your study on time, something like that. So you are always required, means generally it is suggested, you need to always code limitations in your study, because this will be kind of a guide for the future readers, means those who are reading your research paper, those who are referring your research studies, they'll understand this thing, that what are the main limitations of your study. Using that, you have completed your research paper or research study, and that way that can give them a clue if they are removing, suppose I said I have concluded, or this study is confined to, suppose, MP region, as I belong to MP region, so I said this study is confined to MP region. So that way other researchers can conduct such kind of study some other region. So likewise, these limitations can guide them for conducting their own research studies, right? And lastly, what I can say, last but not least, again, it's very important thing to cite all the quotations. It is a kind of credibility we are giving to the pupil, those who means whose researches or whose research papers we are, or articles we are studying for conducting our research paper. So that this means this is a kind of thing, because it is like it is not like the I have seen something which was kept somewhere and I have just taken without taking a permission of something. It is not only the one way of stealing. If you are using a content of other person without giving him or her credit, or without informing him or her, that is again a kind of stealing, and it is generally known as the literature stealing, right? So you need to always give the credibility or the gratitude to the persons whose researches you are referring for your research paper. You need to always quote their research means references in your research paper at the end. So this way, these are the few most important components which I tried to discuss here. This way, this is giving the shape to your research paper or your thesis or your research study, right? I hope I'm clear on these parts. Now I'm moving to the next slide. So friends, here you can see there is a shape I have shown you. Can any one of you tell me what is this?
It's a funnel, like a funnel.
Very good. May I know the name? Who is interacting?
Is it funnel?
Yeah, very correct, sir. May I know the name?
My name is Vivek.
Vivek, sir. Thank you so much, sir. You have correctly identified the shape. It is nothing but it is a funnel. Purpose why I have taken here, maybe you are thinking in your mind why I'm showing you this. So the purpose of showing you the funnel is that because when I talk about literature review, generally we start from the vast, right? Maybe some idea generally strike in our mind and we started working on that. We have started to referring certain papers on that particular domain of field. So we start generally at the large portion, right? And then gradually, after studying so many of the literature papers, we are in a particular mindset or mind frame that now this can be my research title, or this can be the variables I can use in my research paper or something like that, right? So that way we are starting from here and gradually we are narrowing down, right? So that way you can see when I talk about literature review, generally it is very extensive and exhaustive in nature, right? So you need to go in a very detail. Generally you need to refer so many research papers. Usually people ask how many papers we need to read while writing a research paper. So when I was pursuing my PhD, usually my guide told me this thing, Chancellor, you need to read at least 100 papers minimum for writing a thesis. Then I asked him how many for the research paper. He said minimum 30 you need to read. So minimum 100 for the PhD thesis, right? Means more than that you need to study for if you are writing a thesis. But for research paper, he said to me, at least 30 papers you need to read if you're writing or if you want to produce a good or quality research paper, right? So that way you need to go in a exhaustive and extensive manner when you are going for a literature review, and then this will help you out to find or identify the research gap, right? And that research gap will help you out to raise certain questions, and these questions will help you to formulate your objectives, and then you are able to formulate or frame your hypothesis, right? So that way this is a top to bottom approach. Means we are starting from like this, and gradually we are coming to the a very specific portion, right? So research gap always helps us to raise certain research questions, and questions helps us to formulate the objectives, and then we are able to write our hypothesis. So this is a process generally we follow when we are talking about the literature review. But the role of literature review is not confined to here. after finding your analysis, after findings means after whatever findings you have drawn from a research paper, even those findings you are writing in context to the literature review. You are writing that how many of the studies are supporting your results and how many of the studies are not supporting your results, something like that, right? So literature review, as I said, it is not like it is a second component of any research paper only, but it is the means throughout your research paper or research study, it will always help you, right? So it is very important. Always, generally, it is suggested to read as much as you can, right? So, friends, after this session, there will be certain polls I created for you people, right? And I'll ask you few of the questions through the polls. I'm expecting you, please listen me carefully. Whatever polls I created for you, all are linked with today's session, right? Further, talking about the term variables. So usually we know whenever we are talking about research, we need to deal with the variables, right? So variables generally can be of many types. Here you can see I have just shown you dependent and independent variables. But apart from that, variable can be discrete, it can be quantitative, it can be qualitative, it can be continuous, it can be nominal, it can be ordinal. So there are various types of what I can say differentiation available for the variables, right? So when I talk about term variables, I think I have not quoted any definition here, but I think I want to hear from you. If any one of you can tell me that what do you mean by term variable?
The entities whose values keeps on changing every time.
Very good. May I know the name, ma'am?
Manisha Shah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Manisha ma'am has quoted very correctly. That variable is nothing but it is an entity which varies, right? Say for example, color of eyes, right? So it varies from person to person. Variable is color of eyes, but it varies. For me, it can be different. For you or for other person, it can be little different, right? So that way, variable is same, but it changes when you are changing the entity. So this is variables, right? So it can be a characteristics, it can be a virtue, it can be means it can be a entity which varies from person to person or from entity to entity, right? So here I am talking that differentiation of variables in terms of two things, dependent and independent categories, right? Say for example, I think this thing I will cover maybe at the second last day when I talk about the regression and correlation. But here also I'm telling you about this particular thing. Usually we can say when I talk about this particular equation, which is y equals to a plus bx, I think we all have seen this equation in our mathematics books. In school time, we have studied this equation. And I hope you know what we can call this equation as. Can anyone tell me what this equation is?
Linear equation.
Linear equation, very correct.
Equation of
Yes, very correct. It's a straight line equation or equation of a straight line. It's a linear equation. So generally, I think I'm not going in the linear term right now because in the regression, I will discuss this thing. So here I am only talking about the term y and x, right? So here you can see when I'm writing y at the left hand side of this equal sign, generally I can say y is nothing but it is my dependent variable and it is depending on x. And x is what? X is my independent variable. Independent meaning is what? It can take or it can take any values, right? But whatever value I will keep for x, the value of y will change according to the value of x. So that means I can say this thing that x is an independent variable. It can accept any values, but the value of y will always be depending on the value of a, right? And a and b are nothing but these are the constants, right? So generally in mathematical term, we can say a is an intercept and b is nothing but it's a slope or the coefficient of the variable x, right? So as I said, I'm not going in a deep right now. I am going to cover these things later on. So I think you are able to understand this thing, what is dependent and what is independent. Is it fine? May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So coming to the example, I'm trying to explain you the dependent and independent variables with the help of an example. As I belong to the academic fraternity, I am a faculty member or I am a faculty in a particular college. So I am usually interested in this particular type of thing. So suppose I have taken an example from the my field only. It is an academician wants to study what variables lead to performance of students, right? I think question is very clear. I want to know this thing that if I'm talking about my students, I want to know this thing. What are the variables which are leading their performance, right? So here I can say, suppose I tried to take this thing with the help of the diagram here. You can see this thing. Just a minute. Suppose here I'm showing you with the help of example. You can see, or diagram. You can see I have written this thing here that performance is led by hard work and intelligence, right? So can anyone guess which variable here is the dependent and which variable here is the independent?
Performance is dependent variable. Hard work and intelligence is an independent variable.
Very correct. Very correct, ma'am. May I know the name?
Shanti Priya, ma'am.
Shanti Priya, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Shanti Priya, ma'am, said that performance is our dependent variable and hard work and intelligence are our independent variables. Very correct, right? Now question comes. I think when I talk about performance, so how I can measure performance? So I think before getting
scaling, ma'am.
Sorry?
Scaling.
Scaling. Okay, fine. So I need to quote one thing here before moving ahead. Generally, when we talk about research, usually we deal with such kind of variables. Maybe you need to know this thing that how you are going to measure them. So in the upcoming slides, I'm going to talk about the measurement scales. But here, if I talk about performance, so I think when I talk about the performance of students, maybe their marks can be the reflection of their performance, right? So I can say I'm using the marks for measuring the performance. Similarly, if I talk about hard work and intelligence, so these are the two variables which we cannot directly measure, right? So suppose I have defined the definition of hard work as number of hours of study done by a particular student that is showing showing his or her hard work, right? So that way I have defined that hard work is nothing, it is equal to the number of hours studied by the particular student. Secondly, intelligence, generally I can measure this thing using the IQ scores, right? So that way, if your variable is not clearly measured, or you are not means you need to sometimes it happens there are variables called latent variables, right? Latent variables are variables which you cannot directly measure, right? For that we will see further the measurement skills. But I think when I talk about intelligence, we know this thing. Intelligence is generally calculated or measured by the IQ score, right? Maybe further we need to see this thing that IQ score is depending upon this thing, which 2-3 things you need to have to calculate IQ. But that is the latter part. If here I am only talking about the intelligence and hard work. So suppose I define this thing, I can easily ask to the students that how many hours you studied. Suppose per day I am asking you something like that, right? So that way I can collect these two data. Now, it is quite possible that performance is not affected by these two variables only, that is hard work and intelligence. There can be certain other variables also which can impact your performance, right? And these variables can be the gender and suppose socioeconomic status, right? So gender means male and female. I think every year we generally listening to the various channels when the results of CBSE MP boards are declared for 10th and 12th. We are generally seeing this thing that performance of usually, I'm not gender biased, right? This is just generally I'm giving a statement which I think I have most of the time observed and listened. Generally, we are observing this thing and or listening this thing. Generally, female students are performing better in comparison to female. So somewhere we can say that gender can also play an important role in deciding on the performance, right? Apart from that, socioeconomic status, suppose a person or a student is belonging to a very strong socioeconomic background, right? So it is quite possible that he or she has the availability of so many resources, and maybe these resources can help him or her to study better than other students. So that way it is improving his or her performance. So that way these two variables can also available there, which can affect the performance. And again, I want to quote this thing here. It is not like only these four. There can be certain more variables available which are leading the performance of the student, which you need to explore, right? So here we can say, if I'm considering only hard work and intelligence, right, to see the impact of these two on the performance. So these are your independent variables. And suppose I'm not considering gender and socioeconomic status in my study, but still we know this thing because we will collect the data from the students only. So students will having their genders also. You can bifurcate them on the basis of their gender also, and also on the basis of their socioeconomic status. So that way you can see these will become the moderators, means which will help you. Moderator variables are what? Which moderate the relationship between the dependent and independent variables, means which are making this relationship weak or maybe strong. That is known as the moderator variable. These are generally the third variable which are impacting the strength of the relationship between the dependent and independent variables. Right? I think this I'm skipping. This is the one more example. Yeah. Coming to the measurement skills, right? I think rather than firstly discussing me, may I ask you people that how many of you are knowing measurement skills? And if you are knowing, can you name them?
Nominal, ordinal,
Yes.
Interval ratio.
interval, ratio.
Fine. Very correct. And can anyone tell me what do you mean by this term, measurement skills? Anyone?
Measurement scale is something where we measure the degree of happening of some parameters. Like I strongly agree, I strongly disagree, somewhat agree.
Okay. Fine. May I know the name, ma'am?
Kainath.
Fine. Okay. Anyone else want to say something on the measurement skills?
An example of that could be Likert scale.
Okay. Sir, can you define what do you understand by term measurement scale? I think I'm looking for the definition. That what you people are understanding with this.
Measurement means how we are defining our like variables which we have taken.
Very correct. Very correct. Okay. I think I have seen your viewpoints. You people are having a good information or knowledge about the measurement skills. That's great. I'll try to give you my point of view for the measurement skills, right?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. Whether measurement skill could be something, I mean, that the number of times something is present.
We can say this thing.
We can say, no?
Yeah, we can say.
Okay.
I think now I think I'll try to explain my point of view. Maybe you people would be agreeing with this, right? According to me, I always quote this example in my workshops or in my classes also. If I say measurement scale, suppose if I need to go to market to buy milk, so I think what I will tell to a particular shopkeeper,
How much like
Quantity.
quantity I will tell. Very good. I will tell clearly I need 1 liter of milk or maybe half liter of milk, something like that, right?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Similarly, suppose I want to buy vegetable. So I think I clearly say I want to buy half kg of this or something like that, right? Or dozen or something like that, right?
Yes.
So we know this thing that there are, yes, thank you. So we know this thing that there are the things or the quantities available which we can easily measure, right? But when we talk about the social sciences or when we talk about these researches, there are various constructs where there are various variables available which we cannot measure clearly, right? There is no apparatus available using them, we can measure them, right? Suppose if I want to measure the brand loyalty in my customers, how brand loyal they are to my product. So can I say they are having 1 kg of brand loyalty for my product, or they are having 1 liter of brand loyalty for my product? Can I say this? No, we cannot.
No, ma'am.
Not like this, but it is the amount
Because
of
it
the
is
repetition.
qualitative
The
measurement.
number of
We
times
cannot
those customers are
measure
going to
it
be
in
repetitive, that will
quantity.
become the variable. The
I
amount
think
of time.
you connected it, right? You know this, you understood this thing. This is what I want from you people, that you should understand what I was telling to you, right? So it is quite obvious. I can say the degree of brand loyalty, that is okay. Level of brand loyalty, that is okay, but I cannot measure. There is no apparatus available using that I can measure the brand loyalty or the customer perception or their behavior or attitude, something like that, or their motivation level. So we know this thing, it is not available, right? So that is why in statistics, in research, there are measurement skills available, which will help us to measure such kind of variables, which we cannot measure directly. So for measuring the latent variables, we are using the measurement skills. Latent variable means which you cannot measure directly, right? So you can quantify them using the measurement skills, right? So as I think one of you have said, I think our sir said that we can say the Likert scale, strongly agree, disagree. So suppose I want to know statistical anxiety in the participants, or suppose in my students, and I know it is very high. I know it is very high statistical anxiety in the students, right? Suppose I want to measure this. So I will frame certain number of statements. I will frame certain number of questions. I will must say it is not question. These are the statements, right? So I will measure. I will quote certain statements on a statistical anxiety, right? And then I will float them among my students on a 5-point Likert scale or 7-point Likert scale, something like that. And then I collect their scores, right? I will quote them, and that way I can measure that particular construct which I want to measure among them, right? So this is a way, or this way we are using the measurement scales. But measurement scales are having the variety. We all know, I think one of you have already said, there are 4 types of measurement scales available, named as nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, right? Generally, nominal and ordinal we are keeping in one set, which is known as categorical or discrete, and continuous, that is metric, we are keeping in the other set, that is interval and ratio, right? So one by one, I think in a quick manner, I'll explain you these all 4 skills, and then I'll move to the SPSS. Give me a second, what happened? Yeah. Talking about nominal scale, this is a very basic skill, right? So when I talk about nominal scale, this scale will only help you out to categorize the variable, right? Always, as you can see, one example I have already mentioned, and I always take this to make you things very understandable in a very easy manner. That is, gender is a kind of nominal scale variable. Reason here is what? If suppose I want to divide my respondents on the basis of their gender, I can easily say, I can easily count that these are the number of females, or these are the number of males available in my data, right? So I can only categorize them. Apart from that, no other function I can perform them. Means I cannot order these categories. I cannot say male are superior to female group or female group is superior to male group. I cannot comment such kind of thing, right? I cannot arrange them in ascending order or in a descending order. So that way, nominal scale has only the ability to categorize your data, right? So gender will only categorize into the male and female. Similarly, height-wise, if I say, so I can say the short heighted. No, I cannot say that height will be here the nominal scale variable. Suppose the hair color, or maybe the color of eyes, maybe the nationality, or something like that. So these can be the nominal scale variables, which will help you to only categorize your data. Apart from that, no further function you can perform on them. Next one is an ordinal scale. So ordinal scale will help you to categorize, and along with that, you can rank order. Means there will be possibility of ordering the categories. So height, short, medium, and tall. So you can see short people, medium people, tall people. Apart from that, you can arrange them short, medium, and tall, or sorry, short, medium, or tall, medium, and short. So ascending and descending is possible in case of this particular variable. So that is why it is ordinal scale variable. And in ordinal scale variable, categorization is always possible, because as we proceed from one scale to the other scale in this particular sequence which I am talking about, so the scale will having the characteristics of its previous scale. So ordinal will having the characteristics of nominal. Similarly, if I'll go for the interval scale, so interval scale will be having the characteristics of ordinal and the nominal, and along with that it has its own characteristics, that is, there will be the equal distance in the categories. The good example to understand is interval scale is that temperature. Temperature is generally, suppose if I say Fahrenheit, right? So the problem with the interval scale is that there is the absence of absolute zero. Absolute zero meaning is what? There, whatever you are measuring, it should not present there. Zero means what? Whatever you are measuring, it is missing there, right? But in interval scale, there is the arbitrary zero. That means whatever you are measuring, it is quite possible that will be present there. So temperature scale is the good example. Suppose I am saying 0 degree Celsius or 0 degree Fahrenheit, something like that. So we know this thing at 0 degree also we can feel the temperature. That is, we can feel cold, right? And we are calling it as 0 degree. But 0 means temperature is not absent there. One of the characteristics of temperature is still present there. So that is the drawback or the limitation of the interval scale, that it has arbitrary zero and not the absolute zero, right? Some more example you can see are quoted on the slide. Talking about the ratio scale, so it is having the characteristics of all the previous scales. Along with that, it is overcoming the drawback of the interval scale, that is, it has now absolute zero available. So this scale is generally from 0 onwards, right? There is no negative things in case of ratio scale. So some examples I quoted here. So suppose if I say in terms of real world, it is quite obvious I can find a person who is having the 0 salary or 0 income, right? So that way you can say income is a kind of ratio scale variable. Apart from that, few more variables I have listed here, right? So that way you can see these are the measurement scales. Using them, you can measure your variables, which you cannot directly measure, or which for that the apparatus is not available in the practical life, right? So I think this is the summarization of the measurement scales, which you can see in hurry, that nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, identification, magnitude, equal difference, and absolute zero. So identification is possible in case of all the 4 scales. Magnitude, that means order or ordering capacity, is available in the last 3 scales, but it is not available in the nominal scale. Equal difference is available in the interval and in the ratio scale, and absolute zero is available only on the ratio scale, right? Now, when to go for the data analysis. So I think till now from the session, you people have understood this thing. I told you people that you need to have your objectives properly defined. You need to have your variables properly identified. Means when you have quoted your objective will itself tell you these are the variables available in the objective, right? So after your identification of the variables, you will go for the hypothesis designing, and then you will create your questionnaire. After all these 3 things, then you will go for the data collection, right? So after data collection, when you are having your own data, on that particular data, you can apply the data analysis. This is, I'm talking in terms of the primary researches or primary data researches, right? But for secondary data researches, you need to have these objectives, variables, all these, and that way you can collect data through any secondary source, and you can then go for the data analysis. Now talking about the hypothesis expression. So usually you can formulate your hypothesis in the 3 forms. Whether your hypothesis will be of the difference type, or it is of the relationship type, or it is of the prediction type. Say for example, there is no significant difference, or there is no significant relationship, or there is no significant impact, something like that. You are formulating a hypothesis in these expressions, right? So according to your type of variables, these are the few tests listed. If your hypothesis is of the difference type, you can perform t-test, ANOVA, MANOVA, Mann-Whitney, Kruskal-Wallis, etc. If your hypothesis is of the relationship type, you can perform Pearson's correlation, Spearman's rank correlation, point biserial, chi-square test, etc. For the prediction, generally the regression is used for the prediction purpose. And in the regression, there is variety available, like linear, ordinal, logistic, or logit, you can call it multinomial. So these are the variety available in the regression, right? So these are the 3 types of formulation of your hypothesis, right? So I think these all we will cover one by one in upcoming sessions. Talking about the techniques, usually there are parametric tests and the non-parametric tests. Parametric tests, I think I'm not focusing much on them, because in upcoming days I need to discuss them. So I'm just showing you this slide. You can see these are the bifurcation of the different statistical tests in connection to the parametric and the non-parametric tests. In the upcoming days, I'll explain you the meaning of parametric and non-parametric, and then we will discuss all these tests, right? Further, I think this is, I hope, no, after that there is a SPSS, right? So you can see how to select any statistical test. This is a very debatable topic, or I must say this is a very inquired topic also. Generally, we are having one doubt which test we need to apply on our data. So answers can be many. For giving, if you are giving the answers of these questions, these many questions, you would be able to understand that which is the specific tool you can use or technique you can use on your hypothesis. So first thing is, how many independent variables co-vary with the dependent variables. That means how many independent variables you are having and how many dependent variables you are having. That you need to ascertain. Then you need to see what is the level of measurement, means on which scale you have measured your dependent and independent variables. Question number 2 and 3. Then, are the observations independent or dependent? You need to see, we will understand this term independent observations and dependent observations when we talk about the t-test. There I'll explain you this. So you need to see this thing, whether your observations are dependent or independent, and then you will decide upon your test. Then you need to see, do the comparisons involve populations to populations, a sample to population, or two or more samples compared. So here you need to see whether you are comparing two populations, whether you are comparing your sample with the population, or whether you are comparing two samples, right? And then you need to see, is the hypothesis being tested comparative in nature or it is of relationship type. So you need to see these things, and when you are able to give answers to these questions, you would be in a position to decide your own statistical test. Because I think this is the biggest question, or the most inquired question usually students ask me, ma'am, which test now we need to apply? Or usually researchers also ask this question. But I think it is not that much tough. With practice, you can understand this thing. And if you are able to answer these questions, definitely you will get the answer that now which test you need to apply to test your hypothesis. Now we are coming to the actual part of this session, that is SPSS. Usually, SPSS generally stands for Statistical Package for the Social Sciences, right? So it is a short for this. Previously, it was it was launched by the this SPSS Incorporation. But later on, in the year 2009, it was taken by or acquired by the IBM. So now it is the baby of IBM. Presently, 29th version, I think updated version is the 29th. Present version is the 29th, which is now available on the website of the IBM. But friends, let me clear this thing. This is a costly software, right? And second thing, I think I have shared the link for downloading this SPSS workshop, but it was for the trial version for the 30-day period. So the purposefully I have shared it, I think yesterday itself, so that for, at least for the 30 days you can use it, right? After 30 days it will be expired and then you cannot use it. So you need to avail it from any of your friends, or if you can avail it from some other, any particular institute or something like that, if you want to work on SPSS. Now, what type of processes we can perform in SPSS? So usually we can go for the checking of the data. That means how you can check your data in SPSS. So there is a facility available. You can go for the frequency distribution running. You can run this frequency distribution on your data. And I think with this term, you can understand, suppose I collected the data on a Likert scale. So it is quite obvious. Clearly, it will be visible to me. Frequency distribution will be clearly visible to me. Similarly, gender-wise, if I want to see how many males, how many females, so frequency will be calculated for me. For how many males are there, how many females are there. Or if any mistake done by the respondents, you can clearly see this thing in the frequency distribution. Apart from that, second process is the sorting cases. You can sort your data It will arrange your data in the ascending or descending order, and that way it will help you out to check your data. Next one is the make changes. So next process is you can make changes also in your data, so that you need to check whether you have made whether you have commit an error while entering the data. So suppose if you are doing manual entry, it is quite obvious that any error can be opted by you and can be there, and which is maybe leading to a bad results. So you need to see this thing. So again, using the frequency distribution or the short cases, you can see this thing. When your data will be arranged, you can clearly see this thing, that whether it is arranged properly. We suppose your questions are on 5-point Likert scale. So it is quite obvious. Numbering will be from 1 to 5. But suppose you are arranging your data in descending order, and it is started from 6. That means you have made somewhere, you have made the data entry error, right? So that you need to see again that particular respondent has given what response. So accordingly that you can make changes there. You need to see the interpretation error and the misunderstood understood by the respondent, right? Means whatever question you are asking, it might be possible that it is not clearly understood by the particular respondents. So you need to see this thing. Generally, that is what is said when we are going for the PSD analysis or PSD data collection. So generally, means this is my experience, what I'm sharing. Generally, at my time, usually guides said this thing. You go on field and collect the data, because sometimes it happens, whatever question you are asking, people, respondents are not able to understand your question, and according to their understanding, they're giving you the responses. So it's better if you are present there, they'll immediately ask you what is the meaning of that particular question, or what do you want to ask for the particular question. So this is a kind of, I can say, validity type of problem. So in validity, generally we are trying to identify such kind of problem, but still sometimes it happens your question is not giving the clear clue to the respondents that what you want to ask from them. So it is better if you are present there, they will give you answer according to whatever you are asking to them. So these type of things you generally check in the SPSS. Further, recording. So recording is of two types. In the same variable you can record your data, or in a different variable you can record the data. This facility is available under the transform head. And then you can talk about the analysis. Analysis is this middle term. After doing all type of cleaning and proper type of things you can perform on your data, and you can go for the, means your data is now ready for the analysis. So when your data is analysis ready, you can perform the analysis according to your objectives and your hypothesis, right? Now, these are the views of the SPSS. You can see presently I'm showing you the variable view. This is the data view, and then this is the output window, right? So output window will help you. This is generally known as the output viewer. This is generally in showing you the results, means whatever test I have performed in SPSS, output will be generated in the output viewer. So I think rules, as I said, I'm not going to discuss here. This is about the conceptual aspect of the things what I want to discuss with you. I hope it is clear. May I proceed with the next thing now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe it will be little fast. It would be little faster, but I think, although these all things were not the agenda of the day, but I thought we need to discuss these things so that we all will be on a same platform, right? Yeah. So I think I opened a SPSS interface for all of you. I'm expecting your confirmations whether you are able to see my SPSS interface or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can see.
Thank you. Thank you. So you can see here, it is very similar to SPSS, Excel, right? And I think we all have worked on Excel. We know that how Excel works, right? So the look of SPSS is very similar to the Microsoft Excel. The difference is that you can, this thing in an Excel workbook, there are various sheets. Generally, one sheet is coming, but using that plus sign, we can enter so many worksheets in Excel, right? When we talk about SPSS, there are only views available that you can see. I am rotating my mouse. I'm hovering my mouse at the bottom left, right? You can see there are two views listed, data view, and variable view, right? The button color is yellow for the data view. I think you can see that. That means presently it is the data view, right? Now you can see when I'm toggling from data to the variable, I'm clicking on the variable view now. You can see the screen has changed, right? Now this is known as the variable view. And in the variable view, these are the different parameters like name, type, width, decimal label, etc. On that, we need to define our variable. I hope it is clear. May I start defining the variable now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. So you can see, I'll start with the errors, which generally a person can commit while defining the name, and then I'll come to the right form or right syntax of creating the variable, right? So suppose I am writing here 1 gender, right? So you have seen what I did. I've written 1 gender, and now I'm using my tab key from the keyboard to switch from this cell to the next cell. Same like the Excel. In Excel also, you can use your arrow keys or you can use your tab key from shifting from one cell to the other cell. So same way, you can use either your arrow keys or you can use the tab key. So I'm using here a tab key. You can see as I tried to click on the tab button of my keyboard, it has thrown an error or warning to me that variable name contains an illegal first character, right? I hope it is visible to everyone. And those who have downloaded it, maybe they are also performing along with me. So it will be better for them to understand this thing. So I'm expecting you to open it and perform it. If not, please make your notes so that you would be able to understand these things, right? So that way you can see. So the conclusion of this is what, that we cannot start the name of variable with the numbers, right? But if we want to use numbers, we can keep the number in between the name of the variable or maybe at the end of the variable. So that way there will be no problem, right? Now I'm using the next, I'm using dollar and then gender. Again pressing tab, again getting up error, invalid variable name. That means I cannot start the name of the variable with the dollar sign, right? Similarly, suppose I'm using the hashtag now. Again pressing the tab. Again I'm getting an error. I cannot start the name of the variable using the hashtag, right? So similarly, percent, etc. you can use, right? To check that, right? Now, if I'm writing at the rate and I'm using the tab key, you can see no error is thrown to me by SPSS. I can easily create my variable name using the @ sign. So that means only the single special character is there, which is allowed by SPSS to start the name of the variable with, right? So that way I can use that, or simply I can use gender also. There is no problem in that, you can see. I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Similarly, if suppose I want to write gender of participants, right? I hope everyone has seen what I have done. I did gender of participants, right? Give me a second. I want to copy this to save my time, right? So what I did, I have written gender of participants. Now I'm pressing a tab key. Again, a problem came to me that it is showing variable name contains an illegal character. And what was that? It was the space between the two words. Means if you want to define the name of your variable using more than one word, that you cannot do, right? If you want to do without space, you need to use either the underscore sign or the period, that is a dot sign, right? So in a single, I'm doing that. You can see what I have written this time. Oh, written wrongly. Yeah. So it is gender underscore of dot participants, right? Now I'm pressing tab, no error I am getting. Means either I can use underscore or I can use dot. It is not like this. Here I can also use underscore, no problem in that, right? But I think this is not looking good to me. I don't use such types. So I'm removing this because further we are having this facility available that I'll tell you later on, right? So this way you can define the name of your variable. Coming to the next column, which is for the type, means what is the type of your variable. By default, SPSS takes the type of variable as numeric, as SPSS is generally for the quantitative data analysis. So that is why it takes the type of variable as numeric, right? So if you want to make changes, what you can do, you can come to this box and you will find 3 dots. You need to click on that. So the variable type box will open for you. Here, this is the list of the type of variables available. According to your need, you can select. Being for the research purpose, generally the numeric is used because we are generally performing the statistical test, and statistical test can be performed on the numeric data only. This is the drawback of statistics, that statistics cannot deal with the qualitative data, right? So if we want to perform any analysis on the qualitative data, we need to either code that data, right? But if suppose you are having name, address, city, something kind of that, you can use string also, right? If you're having date or something, you can use date. Apart from that, these are varying according to the domain, but generally numeric is the mostly used. As I said, we want to perform statistical analysis, and for that we need to have the numeric data, right? And then you can click on OK. So that way, whatever changes you will make, they will be reflected here. Further, width, generally width is for the string type of data. There is no use of width for the numeric data. Say for example, coming here, I have written name. Coming here, you can see name cannot be a numeric variable, right? So I'm coming here, I'm shifting or changing it to the string. You can see as I made it string, now you can see the changes in decimal also, right? I'm clicking on OK. It has become 0 because SPSS is smart enough. It understands this thing that if your variable is string, there is no use of decimal points, right? So it has made it 0. But if you want to make changes in these decimals, you can use these arrow keys, like, right? So now we will see the meaning of this width here. I'll come to the data view. Whatever variable name I created, these are becoming the headings of the columns in the data view, right? Suppose I'm writing my own name. As in my name, there are 9 characters. So I'm writing CHANCHALA. I don't know how many of you are able to listen the voice which is produced by my laptop. When I'm pressing A, it is generating a sound of error. Means it is not permitted for me. It is not allowing me to enter the next character. Reason is what? Width is 8 only. So what I need to do, I need to increase the width. I'll increase the width like this, right? Now coming here, now I'm writing my complete name here. You can see no error I got. Easily my full name I am able to write. So that way it is allowing you to enter that there's those number of alphabets, right? So that way you can understand this thing. This string is only for the what I was telling you. So you can see this thing, that this width is only for the character or the string data. There is no use for the numeric data, right? But if your numeric data is in the decimal point, suppose I want to write the weight, it is 56.2 or something like that, or in the, after decimal point there are 8, 9 digits, something like that. So that way there is a restriction. So this will be problem. Width will be problem in that case when your variable is in continuous nature. You want to write that variable in the decimal point, something like that, right? Apart from that, for discrete data, there is no problem. It can be anything, and it will not stopping you to enter the data. Fine. Moving ahead, decimals I already discussed. Label. Label is generally we are using to elaborate the name of our variable. As we have seen, there are certain limitations in defining the name. We can use this label. Here you want to keep any space, 2 spaces, you want to use any alphanumeric characters or something like that, that easily you can use here. There is no boundation in terms of labels, right? And generally it is my suggestion only, right? This suggestion is not written anywhere. Generally, I suggest always use labels for your variable name. As you have seen, concisely we are giving the name of the variable. But if in future we are referring the same sheet, and I think it is quite obvious, being a human, we generally forgot the things after 1 month, 2 months, something like that. So that way, generally, when you have given a proper label to your variable name, it will help you to recall the things, right? So generally, we need to use labels. Coming to the next, values. So values meaning is what? It is values label. You can see 3 dots is visible here. I am clicking on that. This is a dialog box appear for us, which is value labels. So suppose I am giving 1. and I'm giving the label as male because it is gender. So as I said, generally you need to code your data, right? So suppose I have given a coding. I have written here 1. I have given 1 to the male category, right? I am adding it, right? Now I'm writing 2 and I'm adding it as female. Then you can click on OK. So it is defined. Again, this is not a problem. I think in this, I am using 25 version of the SPSS. I am having that version only. This is the licensed one. But if you people have downloaded the latest one, maybe there can be a problem, which I just heard because I have not used it right now. So maybe there are problems. You need to define each and everything there, right? So generally make it a practice. Try to use or define each and every point of your variable, right? So that way I have defined this. Clicking again. So you can see, suppose I'm selecting this, so that way remove is open. If I will click on remove, this will be removed, right? But suppose I'm making any changes, suppose I have done this, right? So you can see now the change button was activated. So you can click on change. So whatever changes you will make in the label or in the value, that will be shown here, and then you can click on OK. So that way you can do the removal, whatever you have created as label and values, and you can also make changes in your defined labels and values. Coming to the next, missing values. In SPSS, generally 2 types of missing values. Let me clear you. I think there is one participant, the name of the ma'am is Manisha. I said, one ma'am said. Next one is the Kainat, I think, right? I don't remember the other names, right? So suppose I entered 2-3 names here to show you the other things, right? Coming here. Now I'm talking here about the missing values. As I said, in SPSS, generally there are 2 types of missing values. One is system defined. Second one is user defined. System defined meaning is you can see in the variable view. I think my screen is clearly visible to everyone. You can see in the name, I have written the name, but in the gender, there is a period sign available. Period means dot. I hope you would be able to see, or maybe you can perform on visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the meaning of this is that these are nothing but these are the system defined missing value. Means this data is not available with the system. That is why these are coming as a period sign, right? So means it is not like you cannot make changes in that. You can make changes. Suppose I'm making it 2, 2, 2 because I think we all are female here. So I made it 2 because you can recall in the values label I have given 2 to the female, right? So I have made it 2, 2, 2. Now coming to the variable view again. So this missing value is what? This missing value is not the system defined missing value. This is the user defined missing value. Means we, being a user, can define our own missing values. Now question comes, what is the purpose? Why we need to define, right? So suppose I'm coming here. I'm breaking one more variable here for my own purpose, right? Right. Coming here, now you can see I'm clicking on these 3 dots, right? Now, when I'm clicking on 3 dots, you would be able to see our dialog box has appeared with the name missing values. There are 3 options available. The by default option says no missing values. That means according to SPSS, there is no missing values. This is the by default option. But suppose deliberately I want to define certain missing values, right? So suppose I'm coming in the discrete missing values, right? Now, as you know, this thing in the gender, I have only 2 values, 1 and 2. So that means I can use 3 options here. Maximum 3 is permissible by the SPSS. It is not mandatory. All 3 you need to use. Any one you will use, it is okay for SPSS, right? And also, it is not mandatory to use this missing value option. It is not mandatory. Only for the demo purpose, I'm telling you this, right? So suppose I have written here 1. So I think you can recall this one I defined as male for the gender, right? So that means I'm giving instruction to SPSS that keep 1 as missing from my data. 1 is for male. So whatever are the male, because for whomsoever I have written 1, 1, 1, 1. So all the data will be treated as deleted, right? That means it will not be included in your analysis purpose, right? So that way, this will be the work of missing. You are giving a message, do not include this thing in my analysis. So rather than deleting your data, creating new files, you can use this missing, you can define them, and further you can remove it if you are not having that use of these missing or something like that. If you want to include it Further, you can go and you can remove the restriction, right? Then talking about the range. So I think I'm not defining the range here. I'll go for the age, right? So suppose I clicked on OK. So you can see one is defined here, right? Now coming to the missing, clicking on this, again the same dialog box is coming. So this time I'm going in the range plus one optional discrete missing value. So suppose I have asked a question in my questionnaire, age or what is your age, something like that. Rather than giving them that slaps 18 to 25 or 21 to 30, something like that. Suppose I ask their age directly, right? So I will get so many of the responses. According to the respondents' responses, maybe the age will obviously vary according to the respondent to respondent. Now, after scrutiny, I came to this position. When I sort my data, I would be able to see minimum and the maximum of the age, right? So suppose I came to the conclusion there are some minors who have filled my data. There are super senior or very old people who have given answer to the particular questionnaire. And if suppose for a particular hypothesis purpose or any particular objective achievement, you do not want to include them, suppose, right? So you can use this. Suppose I found there are people from the age of 15 to suppose 20. And suppose I want to conduct analysis for 21 onwards, right? So I can come and define this is a range, means from 15 to 20. If any of the respondent is belonging to this particular range, it will be, or he or she will not be included for the analysis, right? Apart from that, if one extra missing, extra discrete value is available, although it is not mandatory to use, you can find there is no asterisk sign is there, right? So, but if suppose I found there is a person whose age is 65, apart from that, all the persons are between 21 to 60, but one person is of 65 of the age. In that case, I can come and define this. So that means SPSS has got the message, persons who are from 15 to 20 years and a person whose age is 65 years, they should not be included in the analysis, right? When you will click on OK, it will be defined or stored in the memory of SPSS, and that way accordingly actions will be taken by SPSS, right? Further, next two options are there. You can find them. These are the columns and the alignment. These columns and alignments are what? These are just the makeup type of thing. This is only for the decorative purpose. So suppose you can see I'm coming here. I think you can see I have stressed this particular name column, and you can see its impact here. Now the column width has changed from 8 to 12. By default, it is 8. Now it is 12, right? So that way you can see this change means accordingly your means how much character you want to display, that you can adjust there, and accordingly size or the length of it will be adjusted by SPSS. Alignment, we all well versed, right, center, and left according to your need you can make changes. Generally for numeric you can see the difference. For numeric generally it takes right, same as Excel, and for string it takes as left. Measurement scales, generally three types of measurement scales available in SPSS: nominal, ordinal, and scale, right? So nominal, ordinal, we know. Scale meaning means your data is of the interval scale or ratio scale. You generally set its type as scale, right? So these are the parameters which helps us to define the name of our variable, and then we can come to the data view and we can enter our data. This is the manual process, right? Now we will go for the data importing in SPSS. Now we will see how to import data in SPSS. So I'll tell you this thing. There are three ways of importing data in SPSS. I'll first show you the three ways, and then from one of the ways I'll import the data, right? So the first way is, you can see there is an icon of folder available on the bar. You can see that. So when you will click on this open data document, you would be able to see open data dialog box will appear. This is the first way. Now further processes I'll explain you later on. Second is, you will click on the file menu. Then you can go to the open and you can select the data. So again, you will be landed on the same dialog box, that is open data. Third, click on the file, go to the import data, and you can see these are the various formats available, various extensions available. According to your need, you can select them. If suppose I want to bring a Excel file in the SPSS, I'll click on this. the same dialog box will appear. The change you will see here, I'll tell you later on this. Now I'll tell you, I'll close this and I'll tell you what is the change in that and in the open data. So you can see these are the three ways. I hope you have noted down. First one is this available folder. Second one is the file, then open, then data. And the third is file and then import it, right? These are the ways. Suppose I'm clicking on this folder. Now dialog box is coming is of the open data. You can see it is showing me files of type. By default, it is SPSS statistics, that is .sav.zsav file. I can bring in the SPSS. So difference, I think you can easily identify. When I was clicking on the Excel, I'm selecting the Excel now, import data and then Excel. So it is taking the files of type as Excel. So this is the difference, right? By default, if you will select this, it is taking the file extension of the SPSS file, right? So if you want to make changes through this, you can click on this drop down button and you can select Excel. Then, so in the folder, whatever is the Excel file available is visible to you. So here you can go in the lookin. Lookin is what? It is a location from where we want to pick the file. So using this drop down, you can set the location of your file. Suppose I selected this. Now I'm going on, suppose this, right? So you can see I have opened a folder available in a particular location, and it is showing me all the files available, which is having the extension of these three, right? So according to my need, suppose I clicked on the employees data file, right? I am clicking on the open button. In a few seconds, you would be able to see a dialog box of the read Excel file. Yeah, it is available now. Now you can see in the worksheet. So we know this thing in a worksheet that is in Excel file. It is quite obvious there can be the multiple worksheets available, right? So you can click on this according to your need. In my Excel file, there are 2 worksheets available. So whatever file I am requiring, I can select that, right? So at a time, 1 Excel sheet I can open here. So by default, it is taking sheet 1. I'll go with sheet 1. This is the preview of my data, and then I'll click on the OK button. So in the few seconds, you would be able to see. I hope you would be able to see the file is open for us. I hope it is visible to everyone, the file I imported. Visible, I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that way we can bring or import the data. The benefit of importing the data in SPSS is that you do not need to create the variable name. You can see I'm going in the variable view. All the names, whatever were there in my Excel file, are taken here. Means whatever it means, the first line of my Excel file, first row is what? It is nothing but the name of the variables, right? So that will be coming here as the variable name. But it is not like you cannot make changes. You can come here. If you want to edit something, you can edit it. And that way it will be there, whatever you want to make changes, right? So this way you can import your data in SPSS. So I think this is the basics of the SPSS. Further, we will see how we can use the analyze graphs. I think we will not see, but in the analyze only, we will be having certain graphs that we will interpret, and we will see that how we can create them. So these are the things which Miss SPSS can help you. You can click on the analyze menu. This is the list of the statistical tests which you can perform. Although we cannot learn each and everything in this FDP, we are having 7 days. After this, 6 days. So I'll try to explain you these 6 statistical tests which we can use using the SPSS. And I hope this FDP will help you out to understand that how you can use them and how you can practice them, right? So this is the purpose of this FDP. Now I'm stopped sharing my screen. If anyone is having any query, please ask.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
मैम एक बार जो यहाँ पे डाटा व्यू और वेरिएबल व्यू है, इसमें डाटा कैसे फीड करते हैं? वेरिएबल व्यू में जो वैल्यू वगैरह या विड्थ वगैरह या अन्य जो चीजें हैं, उनके बारे में थोड़ा सा बता दीजिए.
I think I just discussed, sir. Have you not joined previously?
जी मैडम.
Sir, in that case, you need to see on the YouTube because it is a time-taking process. It has taken almost 30 minutes for me to describe all these things. So in 5 minutes, I cannot tell you this thing. I can only show you this is the variable view. You can write the name of your variable. Once you will writing, suppose I have written here age, right? When I'm going in the next cell using the arrow key or something, so almost all the fields are filled by SPSS. According to your need, you can make any changes. Type of variable is generally numeric in SPSS. If you want to make it string, date, etc., that you can make changes. Width is by default 8. Decimal points is by default 2. If you want to make changes, you can make it 0 or something like that. Labels you can use to detailing the name of your variable. Values will help you out to define the codings, whatever you have coding given to your data. Missing is for our purpose. For your purpose, you want to miss, or if you do not want to include something in your data, that you can define there in the missing. Columns and alignment, I think there is not much use of these in terms of the analysis purpose. Measurement skills, I think you know, there are 4 measurement skills usual in statistics, but here there are 3: nominal, ordinal, and skill, right? So according to your need, you can define them.
Thank you.
Right. So is it fine? Anything else? This is a quiz time now. Anything else, friends? Okay, no questions. So may I go for the polling? I have created certain questions for you people. Yes, fine.
Excuse
Thank you.
me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Activity or other things in this regard, you will share. Please.
Data set I'll provide you
Please.
definitely, sir, for the practice purpose.
Okay, sir. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. I think first poll I have launched, you would be able to see. How many of you are able to see the poll? Is visible to you people or not?
Poll is in the chat. Everybody can see over there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Priyanka ma'am, for helping me.
Ma'am, poll is not visible. Can you please create it again?
Is it not visible, ma'am?
No, ma'am, it's not visible now.
But I think I have got.
Ma'am, it is visible.
It's visible now.
Yeah, I got 2 votes. 2 people have voted for the poll.
No, ma'am.
It's visible.
For that, you have to go in activity section near to chat section. There you will be able to see polls.
Yeah.
And then you can click on the poll and then you can apply for whatever answer you want. For the participants, there is an option near chat. If you are from laptop and if you are from phone, then you have to see in meeting setting option, you will see the polls.
Near that lock sign, you can find it at the left of that lock. Right, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I think we have received 11 votes. I hope it, yes, 13. Very good. I think this is a kind of interaction which I can see very good. 14. So I think for 5 more seconds and then we will go for the next poll. I'll give you the answer of this firstly and then I'll go to the next poll, right? So on the count of 5, I'll end the poll, right? So I'm counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm ending the poll. Thank you so much. I have received total 28 responses, right? So I think out of question is visible to everyone, right? So that is variable is characteristics, entity, virtue, or all of the above. So out of 28 votes, 8 votes went for the characteristics, 10 for entity, 0 for virtue, and 10 for all of the above. The right answer is all of the above. That variables are nothing but these are the virtue, characteristics, or entity, right? So the persons, those who have given answer or vote for the last option, they are correct here. They are right here, right? Now I'm launching the second poll. Give me a second. Poll has launched. You can see it. Please read it and give the answer for the next poll.
Meanwhile, those who are asking for PPT will not be shared it is clearly mentioned all over. You may watch this recording session again on YouTube via the link which is given with the message. And again, there is one. Someone is asking about poll. If you are from mobile, then you have to see in your screen on which side there is an option. There will be an option of poll where you can see the symbol of people who are in meeting, chats, and then activity.
Okay, so I think I received 26 votes right now. So on account
Excuse
of
me, ma'am.
on a count of 5, I will close the poll.
Excuse me, ma'am.
5.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
मैम मैं फोन से अटेंड कर रहा हूँ, पोल का ऑप्शन कहाँ दिखा रहा है, कुछ मुझे आइडिया नहीं आ रहा है.
Sir, I
Poll.
hope you can see the respondent sign. The people who are there in a meeting, you can see.
Yes, ma'am. In call message हमारे पास.
Near that there is a chat, and near the chat there is a symbol of the triangle, square, and circle. Right. So on a count of 5, I'm closing this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am ending the poll. I received 32 votes for this. Question was, which is a type of variable? Answers were, options were quantitative, qualitative, discrete, all of the above. And answer is all of the above. A variable can be quantitative in nature. It can be a qualitative variable. It can be a discrete variable, right? So the persons, 23 persons has responded correctly. So those who have responded all of the above, they are right. Thank you. Launching the third poll for you. I have launched the third poll. I'll give you only 10 seconds for this, and then we will, I'll end the poll, right? So please read it, give the response. In a count of 10, I will close it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Received total 32 votes for the question. Question was age in terms of young, middle-aged, old-age category type of variable. Which type of variable the age is? Options were nominal, ordinal, interval, and none of the mentioned. So the correct answer is ordinal. So out of 32, 18 people have voted correctly. That is ordinal. We know this thing. Age can be means it can be a nominal scale variable, but when you're saying young, middle-aged, and old-age, you can arrange them in a ascending or descending order also. So it is a kind of ordinal scale variable, right? Launching the fourth poll. I hope it is visible to everyone now. So again, on a count of 10, I'll close or end the poll. So, right, please read it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. So this time I received 34 votes. Question was, which is not a measurement scale? Options were nominal, discrete, interval, and internal. So 2 options are correct here. Discrete is not a measurement scale and internal is not a measurement scale. So out of 34, 31 has answered it correctly. Interval is a measurement scale and nominal is also a measurement scale, right? Now launching the second last poll. Yeah, I have launched the second last poll. Yeah. So now I'm starting the counting. So on a count of 10, I'll end the poll. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. So again, I received total, no, this time it's 36 votes. So question was very simple. SPSS stands for 4 options were given to you. Out of 4 options, the second one was the correct one, statistical package for social sciences. 27 out of 36 of you have responded correctly. Thank you so much. The last poll I'm launching now. Yeah. So I have launched the last poll. It is a very simple question. So I am starting the counting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. So I received again 36 votes. Question was very simple. SPSS has how many views? Answer options were 2, 3, 4, and 5. And out of 36, 25 of you have responded correctly. That is, there are 20. There are 20. There are 2 views of SPSS. Thank you so much. So I think this is all from my side. Thank you so much for your patience and for your learning along with me. Thank you. Over to you, Priyanka ma'am.
Thank you so much, Chanchal ma'am. And thank you everyone, every participant. I hope there is no query for today. If there is any query, there are 5 minutes left. You can ask, and then we will conclude the session for today. The platform is open. If anybody wants to ask for today's sessions related questions, you may please ask.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chanchal ma'am, thank you so much. And the session is really very, very informative. Thank you.
Uh,
In so
Mr.
simple words.
Mr. Vijay, you can open your mic, and Emily, you can also open your mic and you can ask one by one.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everyone. Can I ask you people to switch on your camera so that I can also see you?